Hey guys, I just got out of Peter Rabbit. It it's very different from what you're expecting if you're going in for the classic Beatrix Potter stories. It is about Peter Rabbit, his cousin Benjamin Bunny, and his three little sisters, and trying to steal vegetables from Mr. McGregor's vegetable patch. But it is so different from anything you're expecting if you're thinking of classic Peter Rabbit. Do you like the Chipmunk movies? Do you like Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties? I actually like the first Chipmunk movie, so I guess the thing about this movie is if you aren't stuck on the idea of seeing classic Peter Rabbit, and if you don't mind very modern live action movies with CGI animals with a lot of pop songs that are very loud, a lot of real fast talking jokes. Let me explain a joke that started early in the film. Farmer McGregor bends over during the whole incident with the rabbits. He's trying to catch them. Peter Rabbit is desperately trying to escape, but he turns around, sees Farmer McGregor bent over, and you can see his coin slot. And at that moment, Peter stops from escaping because he absolutely has to stick a carrot into Farmer McGregor's coin slot as a prank. He's a rascal. And at that moment, my mom, who went to the movie with me, she checked out at that point. No interest in the rest of the film because, that kind of joke does not work for my mom. Personally, it's a funny gag. I don't think it belongs in Beatrix Potter. I don't think Beatrix Potter would be very happy with that gag. This, of course, is not made for the Victorian audience, and I get that. It's just so not Peter Rabbit. And if you want to modernize something, sure, go ahead. Is that the only way you can modernize something? I don't know. There are birds that do a rap, and that's really horrible. There are a lot of really bad insertions of pop music in this movie. It's really. I'm not flat out giving a negative review. What I'm saying is, if this is your thing, it's going to be right up your alley, I liked the first Chipmunks movie. I didn't hate the Garfield movies. I'm a longtime Garfield fan, and there were some major flaws in those, especially the first one. But this was basically its own thing. And I guess I get a little more annoyed with that. It's like, if you're not going to do Peter Rabbit, then do your own rabbit. You know what I mean? Nothing of this is Peter Rabbit, except the names and looks. They looked exactly like the characters, even though they're not children here. They're adults. The mother has passed on now. This is practically a sequel because they're older, But at the same time, they're in modern day, not in Victorian times like the old Peter Rabbit stories. If you want the old classic Peter Rabbit stories, there's an animated program the BBC did. I think they did it in the 80s. My little sister had a VHS tape of it. It probably was released on DVD too. I don't know. It was a little dull for my taste because I'm a Winnie the Pooh guy. So I like a little more imaginative stuff. But, and it's, mostly Farmer McGregor, stealing from Farmer McGregor's garden, and the dangers involved. This one goes a different route with the story. I'll get into that in a minute. But basically, if you've got little kids, they're going to love it. They're going to be cracking up at this if they can follow the fast-talking British accents, because it's all British cast, and very fast-talking. There's a lot of mature dialogue. A lot of the jokes are very mature. But it's great that you would write this in a way, that could be entertaining for adults with the dialogue, but it's very hard for adults to tolerate it because it's so loud and obnoxious. There are musical numbers. It's not really a musical, but there are times when characters start singing and dancing and it looks horrible. And I don't mean the animation quality. These characters look amazing. They look gorgeous. They look 100% real. Fantastic looking. I wish they had done this a little less obnoxiously. Modernize it, okay, that's fine. There's actually a really good story here with the main human characters. I liked that, and they were not from the classic stories. The Mr. McGregor here, you have old Mr. McGregor straight out of the stories, who dies at the beginning of the movie during that altercation and that carrot joke. He has a heart attack and dies. And immediately is replaced by young Mr. McGregor, who is the nephew, I think, who didn't even know the old one. And I'll get more into detail in a minute, but I'm not really spoiler zone yet. But and then there's a woman named Bee who loves the rabbits and takes care of the rabbits. I mean, she doesn't own them. She'll let them into her house when it's raining out or whatever. She'll, feed them a little or whatever. She loves the rabbits. And she's a woman who has moved out to the country to paint. And her name is Bee, like Beatrix Potter. And she does this horrible art. But then she also does really beautiful illustrations on the side. She doesn't realize how great they are of the rabbits. And they're, of course, the classic Beatrix Potter book illustrations. And that was kind of a hard thing in this movie. There were times when you would have flashbacks or just moments like that where they would do it in the traditional old animation, and it just really made you wish you were watching something a little more quaint and calm and Peter Rabbit-y. I mean, there's times when I like the loud, obnoxious stuff. It's just not when I go see a movie called Peter Rabbit. There is a place in this world for calm, relaxing, have a cup of tea movies. There really is. I really hope that the Winnie the Pooh stuff that is currently being concocted is calm and relaxing and enjoyable. Again, I think I mentioned this. I really liked the first Chipmunks movie. There are things in the sequels that I like. I love the Chipettes. The second film had a lot of issues, but I love the Chipettes. It's just, that's just not Peter Rabbit. You know what I mean? Just call it something else and rename these rabbits, because this is not Peter Rabbit, But anyway, so, if you don't mind the really loud, obnoxious stuff and the really loud pop music and moments that characters break down into dance that just doesn't fit the rest of the movie, even though it's already a loud, obnoxious movie most of the time. If you can tolerate that stuff, there's a cute story about the human characters and cute relationship with the rabbits at times, and it's just like, if they could have just cut out the crap, you know what I mean? Cut out the crap. And it doesn't mean you can't have some of the modern jokes. Some of them were not so good. Some of them were. You don't have to go as hardcore modern as they did. They didn't even have to. It would have been nice if it was old-fashioned, but it is totally its own thing in the Peter Rabbit disguise, though, which is kind of sad, because they could have done their own thing, and then they also could have made a Peter Rabbit movie that was Peter Rabbit. That's what I'm saying. Fans of classic Peter Rabbit are not going to like this. I mean, I don't think so. But again, if you like really loud, a lot of action, a lot of Home Alone pranks, because there's a lot of let's beat up Mr. McGregor. And I'm not saying some of that stuff was fine and funny and would fit okay in a Peter Rabbit movie. It was just, I think I was more bugged by a lot of the loud pop music, and just maybe they were overdoing it with the jokes, because the jokes, some of them were good, some of them weren't. There was this joke about a rooster that was actually pretty funny. The rooster would just go, when the sun would come up, it was just like he was screaming because it was so amazing to him. And then there's a part where there's a bit with eggs and having chicks and stuff, and it would have been funny, except the rest of the movie was so loud that when they did this bit about the rooster that was supposed to be loud screaming and everything, it didn't seem any louder than the rest of the movie and all the rabbits, and they're shouting because they're always shouting and throwing things, and it's just so much mayhem. That's the thing. It wasn't Peter Rabbit because it was so much loud, obnoxious mayhem. It was disappointing. Yeah, it was just really disappointing. But to get into spoilers, and again, it was disappointing partly because there was a cute, nice story under it. There's a cute love story going on, and it's got some good issues there with Mr. McGregor, the new Mr. McGregor, the young Mr. McGregor. Rose Byrne plays Bee. I think I might have said that before. She's lovely. She's very good in this completely new created role for this movie. And then they have a good chemistry together, and he's actually really funny. I forget the actor's name, but he's the guy who plays Hux, General Hux in the new Star Wars films. And you wouldn't know it to look at him, but you'll be like, I know this guy. And then you start to say, is that Hux? And it is Hux, but he doesn't look the same. And his hair, it's more like reddish, I think, in Star Wars. And he looks like a regular guy here. In Star Wars, he looks like a premium a-hole, but and he is. But yeah, he's great in this. I really liked him in this. He's really likable, surprisingly likable in this, and she's fantastic. I don't know why she thinks she should be going over to the neighbors and telling them that they need to let rabbits eat out of their garden, because I don't think that makes sense. But that's her thing in the movie, and of course he falls in love with her. We're getting spoilers here, I guess. Okay, so spoilers. When he moves in, and he's an employee at Harrods, the big department store in London. I've been there. Very, very impressive big department store. And it's like one store, but it's like a mall, and kind of, not really like our malls. It's like a huge store. And anyway, so he works in the toy department, and he doesn't get a promotion he wants, and he loses his stuff over it. And he is super meticulous. And I mean, this guy deserved a promotion, but it went to the nephew of the owner or whatever. And so anyway, he loses his mind over not getting the promotion, and he gets fired. But at the same time, he finds out his uncle has died, and he's got his big house in the country. So he goes over to move to the country, and he has this dream of starting his own toy store. And while he's there again, he starts to encounter the rabbits, and he hates them. He doesn't like anything out of place or anything. So that means he doesn't like rodents in his yard or anything like that. So big issue for him, right? And when he has arrived there, by the way, all the farm animals and woodland creatures have been having a big party because they think, oh, we've killed Mr. McGregor, so this house is ours now. So they're like having the most obnoxious party in the world. And honestly, it's like the most obnoxious stuff happens earlier in the film. I mean, it happens throughout, but this is kind of early in the film, and this party is like the worst part, except for the rap when the birds start rapping. And this weird dance that the rabbits start to do at one point that I don't remember why they did it. I don't think it made any sense, and it was really unappealing to look at and horrible. But yeah, they're having this big party, and it goes on for too long because it's super unentertaining. It's just loud and horrible, and you're just dying for it to end. And I guess what bugged me the most about it was it just wasn't Peter Rabbit. This is not Peter Rabbit. This is Alvin and the Chipmunks. And I'm okay with it when I'm watching Alvin and the Chipmunks, but I'm not okay with it with Peter Rabbit because it's not Peter Rabbit. And it was bad enough that the bunnies were all adults. That was the only reason they did that, was to get rid of the mom and to put more emphasis on, this lady taking care of the rabbits, the human lady. Now, you didn't have to get rid of the mom for that. I mean, well, maybe you did. You didn't have to make them adults to get rid of the mom, is what I meant to say. You don't have to make the rabbits adults. Keep them still babies. It'll be even more charming. But they wanted to make them more responsible because there is an issue where basically immediately Peter and the new Mr. McGregor are having their issues with each other, and this just it grows and grows to the point to where Mr. McGregor, he goes and gets dynamite, and he's trying to blow up these rabbits. And meanwhile, he starts dating Bee, and things are going really well, but he's pretending that he likes the rabbits. And of course, eventually, when it comes to using dynamite on him, he lies and says he's not. And but eventually, thanks to Peter, to prove that he is, Peter blows up his own home, the tree that he lives in, and that was partially, it was an impulsive move. I don't think he knew that it was going to destroy his home. I don't know. It was so fast what happened there. But Peter's an impulsive rabbit. That is kind of his character. That's one thing they took from the classic one. But so he ends up feeling bad because they were falling in love, and he kind of destroyed that. Peter feels bad about that. And then, Mr. McGregor feels bad because he, lied and everything. And basically there's a come around moment, of course, because everything does work out in the end, and the people who are supposed to get together do. And it's a nice, happy ending. It's a charming story. It's just, there's so much obnoxious stuff. The characters are obnoxious. Peter is obnoxious. Peter's cousin is fine. Peter is obnoxious. His sisters are obnoxious. They have some interesting voice actors, by the way. I don't know some of them. I know that one of them is Rey from Star Wars, Daisy Ridley. I know one of the sisters, and I know another of the sisters is Margot Robbie. The others, I don't know them. I think they're more famous British people. I think the guy who plays Peter is some kind of talk show host over there or something. I read that somewhere. I don't know if that's all. He's probably an actor, comedian. I don't know. Yeah, they're just obnoxious. And they have funny moments. It was the music. It was all the stuff with the birds. I hated those birds. There's one character narrating the story, And I think from the beginning, I think it was one of the birds. It's just a woman's voice. I think it was one of the birds. I don't know if it was necessary at all in retrospect to even have this narrator, except to give it more of a storybook feel, I guess. But this was just, it was just disappointing, man. If it wasn't Peter Rabbit, I think I would have been able to deal with it more. But there were just all those moments where you're saying, why did you do that? Why are they doing this ugly dance? Why are those birds rapping? Because it's just horrible. Why is, just, why? Why are you playing? There were a few moments where they used pop songs that worked. I think there was a part at the end, or near the end, where it worked. Nobody singing, it was just the background song, you know. There's a part where they all go to London, or at least Peter and Benjamin Bunny do, because they're trying to bring Mr. McGregor back, because he has, fled to London, given up on everything, and tried to get his old job back, which he did, but it didn't last. And they have to reveal that they talk. They have to reveal that to Mr. McGregor, which is kind of a weird thing in this, but I don't know. I mean, these rabbits are wearing clothing anyway. They do some funny stuff with that. There's a part where he's like telling Rose Byrne's character, McGregor is telling him, where do they even get these jackets from? And she just is like ignoring it. It's like the world just ignores the fact that these animals wear clothing and everything. It's got its good points. That just breaks my heart, because it could have been good. Even modernized, it could have been good. If you can force yourself to ignore certain things, I mean, I could probably watch this again and ignore the stuff I don't like. I'm really good at that. I'm really good at ignoring the parts I don't like in a movie. But I hate it when I'm better at that when I'm alone. If I had gone into this alone, I'd still be giving the same review, but maybe I wouldn't be as... It's embarrassing when you take somebody to a movie. And I was there with my mom, and I mean, I kind of wanted to go alone because I knew that it was going to... I mean, the trailers kind of... I hoped it wasn't going to be as bad as the trailers. But again, I'm coming from having a little bit of knowledge of the original. It's just not the original. If you like this kind of stuff, you might like it. But not if you have any expectations based on the original. That's all. That's all I can say. I can't very hardly recommend it. I would say give it a try when it's on Netflix. If and when it is on Netflix. If you're looking... I know that they put this out right now so that they can get it on home video in time for Easter. But before you get this, get Hop. Hop is a really good Easter movie. Hop is an excellent Easter movie, and it's about Easter. It's about the Easter Bunny, and it's got... See, this one has live-action rabbit. I mean, a CGI rabbit, live-action world, and it's got the obnoxious stuff, but it's not overblown. It's actually at no point really is it unlikably obnoxious. Hop is a great movie. I highly recommend Hop. Peter Cottontail. You have to have this. This is the classic Rankin Bass one, the original. I think from the 70s. When I used to hear Peter Rabbit, I always thought of Peter Cottontail. This is my Peter Rabbit, Peter Cottontail. But if you have these two and you're looking for something new, actually go look for that old BBC one, the animated one. I think the opening and closing are live action. That might have been a series, actually, a TV series. I don't know how it's available on home video, but I'm sure it probably is. This one, small kids will love it. Tolerant adults who are not bothered by a lot of loud noise and a lot of violence and a lot of jokes that sometimes are kind of trashy. Just totally... And again, I'm not really bothered by that stuff. It's just not Beatrix Potter. And I just went into this kind of hoping for a tea drinking kind of movie. I don't drink tea, but I drink cocoa. And I like these kind of movies with cocoa. I just hope they never do this to Winnie the Pooh. I don't mind them doing this to something new and original. I don't mind, this Easter Bunny that is very modern and funny. And this guy's really funny. EB. I have to do a review or something on this sometime. But to take a classic character, you got to treat him with a little more respect than I think this movie did. But it had its heartfelt moments, and those moments were really good, and the humans were really good. Even Peter was really good in those heartfelt moments, like in the end when he's like having his big apologetic moment. It's actually really heartfelt and nice. But it's hard to stick with it to that point. Okay, guys, I'm done. I'm about to run out of time, so check it out if you really have to, knowing what I've said. I can't go in and say this is a bad movie. It's just a bad Peter Rabbit. It's just not anything Beatrix Potter would have approved of. I feel like you have to take that into account a little bit. When the Walt Disney Company does something, I really think they should consider whether Walt would have approved. But you also have to measure that with the changing times and what's acceptable now. But you should at least think a little bit about it. You should think about the creators of something at least a little bit, out of respect. I think this one takes things... It's just a totally different character, really. I don't know. You got to judge it for yourself. But I would love to hear opinions. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.